You human
On the point of order.
Honorable
On the
News stories abound in the state system. ATN's appetite for in-depth, unbiased and factual reportage is the driving principle for this program in order to bring government activities to the doorstep of the people. On our topics for today, in Rivers State, NUJ raises concerns over education, healthcare and security. In Rivers State also, NDLEA arrests 39 drug dealers. For railway sector, NRC restores Abuja Kaduna train services after disruption. In the education sector, JAM summons 94 candidate institutions over malpractices. We're open for other placements, news and events coverage, personality, society and political interviews, product service promotion and commercials. Watch us live on www.atlanticnetwork.tv, Apple TV channel 205, the Mix TV platform, Ifestech platform, Apple TV, Ninja TV, Iroko TV. Connect with us on ATN socials, subscribe, like and share. On Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1, on Twitter now X at Atlantic TV Net. Our guests will be back after this break. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Joining us today in the studio is our very special guest, Mr. Denwi Daniel. We're super excited to have you join us. It's good to have you here.
Good afternoon, Francis. It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much, sir. So right into the first story that we have, it says Nigerian Union of Journalists, Rivers State Council, has raised concerns over the state of education, healthcare and security in the state. This was part of resolutions reached at its state congress held on March 17, 2026 in Port Harcourt to mark 1 year of the current executive led by Comrade Paul Bazia Nsane. In a communique, the union called for urgent renovation of dilapidated schools, recruitment and fair posting of teachers, and revitalization of primary health care centers. The NUJ also urged the government to invest in power generation, tackle land grabbing, and address the menace of touting in Port Harcourt. While commending the State Assembly for broadcasting the screening of commission and nominees, the union criticized the disqualification of some nominees over past opinions, describing it as a violation of freedom of expression. The council further condemned recent political violence in Ikwere and called for a level playing field for all political parties ahead of elections. Now, I would love to ask Mr. Denwi Daniel, you know, people are worried about bad school conditions and not enough teachers. What do you think the government is doing about this or should do about this?
Well, thank you very much. Well, I feel what the government should do, it's very simple, right? So we have cases where we have the lack of teachers, and then we have the school buildings are dilapidated, right? So like I always say and always would say that you know, there are basic things that the government is supposed to do for her citizens, right? And then the education is part of them. And then we cannot have education if we don't have, you know, a proper structure or more like a conducive learning environment. Do you understand, for these students? And then even when these conducive environments are there, we need also manpower. So the man inculcates morals and values, you know, into these students. So basically, the government should, you know, look into, you know, recruitment of teachers. And then the reason why some persons are not willing to venture into teaching is because of the poor salary, you know, scale, right? It could shock you that we still have teachers who are being paid, you know, 70,000, 80,000. You know, there's this minimum wage now, and the minimum wage is 70,000, right? And then it will shock you that we still have teachers who are being paid 70,000, 80,000. Now, let me ask this important question: what would 80,000 or 70,000, as the case may be, you know, do for this teacher? So, in as much as we are saying that there are no teachers, the reason why there are no teachers is because of, you know, the remuneration is quite poor, and then the learning environment where the students are not really conducive. Do you understand? There's something about when you learn, when you're learning in, you know, an environment that is not conducive, or an environment that is not, you know, friendly. It makes you, you know, you're worried, you're thinking about a lot of things, and it could shock you that some of these public schools, some of the classrooms do not have chairs, and then some of the classrooms as well do not have, you know, roof over the classes. So it's just a lot that the government has to do, you know, ensuring that there's a conducive learning environment, and ensuring that, you know, teachers are adequately paid, you know, because at the end of the day, the government cannot literally go to the houses of individuals, you know, to request for them to be teachers. The government will only put out, you know, a notice that there's a recruitment for teachers, right? So if the salary is not enough, I mean, Nigerians will not apply. So basically, the salary should be increased, well, so that, you know, it could give room for individuals to apply, and then ensure that these classrooms are made conducive for learning, basically.
All right, Mr. Denwi Daniel, thank you for your contribution to the story. Speaking about, you know, social amenities and the education sector and all of that, we also have the health sector. We have many health centers that are not working properly. How do you think the government will, you know, try to fix this and improve healthcare for ordinary people?
Well, I feel like Nigerians are not actually holding the government accountable. Do you understand? So
Okay.
when we have some of these politicians that they come for, um, election promises and all of that, and then they promise that okay, they will provide a certain number of healthcare facilities, provide educational facilities and all of that, and then at the end of the day, when they are being voted into power, we can see that some of these people after promises, they end up not doing anything. So first of all, I feel like Nigerians are not holding these leaders accountable. You gave us your word that in 2 years, 3 years, you ensure that this is done. But at the end of the day, sometimes they spend two tenures, which is 8 years, and then they did nothing close to what they promised. Right. So basically, if we start holding these leaders accountable, I feel to an extent they would ensure that some of these promises are kept. Now, for example, we have some of the primary health care centers in River State, and if you take a look at some of these primary health care centers, there are nothing to write home about. There are no facilities. There are no
Mm-hmm.
facilities. In fact, there are no nurses. There are no doctors to attend to to the common Nigerian.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the duty of the government, to ensure that these things are provided. For crying out loud, these are basic social amenities, education, road, healthcare. These are electricity. These are basic things that we should not be crying over and over and over again as Nigerians. And rumor has it that some of the electricity is coming from Nigeria. Do you understand? And then a country that powers another country, we do not have the power. Do you understand? And it's crazy. So these four basic social amenities should be provided. But then, like I said, we are not holding these leaders accountable because if we are doing that, I mean, they won't mess with Nigerians anymore. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And Nigeria is a society where nobody wants to take the lead because of okay, I'm benefiting from this, I'm benefiting from that, and that is why we're at this position that we are, because everybody's reluctant to hold the government officials accountable to deliver on their promises that they have given to us as Nigerians. Do you understand? So that's my take on this.
All right, thank you very much. So the next story that we have as regards to NDLEA, it says National Drug Law Enforcement Agency and Rivers State Command has arrested 39 suspected drug dealers, including 3 women, over a 4-month period, seizing approximately 14.83 kilograms of various drugs. Commander Bature Dawa disclosed the operations took place between December 2025 and March 2026 during a courtesy visit to the Secretary to the Rivers State Government, Dr. Dagogo Wokoma in Port Harcourt. Dawa added that 12 suspects were successfully convicted last month, while 16 new cases are currently under investigation and have been charged in court. He emphasized the agency's ongoing commitment to combating drug-related crimes in the state. Mr. Denwidani, I would love to ask, apart from arresting suspects, what is being done to stop young people from getting involved in, in drugs? Because we've had these cases over and over again.
Yes, we have these cases over and over and again, and drug, the whole drug scenario now, um, it's quite familiar, right, with the younger generation. And funny enough, even the advanced Nigerians, people who are within their forties as well, they are also involved in drug trafficking and all of that. Before, we used to have cases where it were just the male gender, right? But these days, both men and women, have engaged in this. And this boils down to, the poor structure that we have in Nigeria. Do you understand? So basically, people will not, these are social vices, right?
Mm.
So people will not venture into things that are bad. Let's say, for example, there's the burning fire. Me putting my hand into that burning fire, what does it mean? It simply means that, okay, I'll get burned, right? Do you
Yeah.
understand? So that's like seeing something that is wrong or something that is bad, and then still putting my hand into it. That's because there are no options. Not like there are no options, but the options are being, are being made for the 1% of the 1%. It would shock you that, for an average Nigerian to get, employment into some of the federal ministries. Well, I'll take for example the FIRS, the Federal Inland Revenue Service. For you to get an employment into FIRS, you would have to know someone that knows someone that knows someone, which is not right. Do you understand? So it's because of the fact that some of these government opportunities are being reserved for the 1% of the 1%. NDDC as well. You will never hear that, okay, there's recruitment going on in NDDC. But every day people keep showing up as new employees. So where are they coming from? So this is where the government has actually failed us, because these job opportunities are supposed to be free and fair. I should not have someone in NDDC, or I should not have someone in FIRS for me to gain employment into those departments. Do you understand? So the government has failed us as Nigerians. Do you understand? So that's why we keep having cases like this. We keep having cases like this because the employment opportunities are not being shared across board. They're not being shared equally. So over and over again, no matter how we keep putting up, campaigns about effects of drug abuse and all of that, we still have cases like that because the government is not doing anything to salvage the situation for Nigerians. I mean, fuel is how much as at today? Fuel is gradually approaching 1,500 naira per liter. Are we supposed to be there as a nation? No. Sometime last year, fuel was below 1,000 naira. There was a time where fuel was doing 150 something naira, if you can remember. And now we are at 1,400, approaching 1,500. Nigeria it's crazy. These leaders have actually failed us. Do you understand? So to answer your question, right, if when the government does what it is supposed to do, that's when the country will be a better place for all Nigerians. So no matter how you put up, campaigns, you set up parastatals to apprehend culprits and all of that, it will keep happening because at the end of the day, Nigeria is getting difficult. I mean, someone earning 200 to 300,000 can no longer, live a comfortable lifestyle in Nigeria. And it's crazy. Are we supposed to be there as a nation? No. Things are supposed to be easier for Nigerians, but then what is the government doing about it? Nothing. Instead, the government is focused on, 2027 election processes. We're not even there yet. This is March, and we're talking about 2027 election. It's crazy. Honestly, it's crazy.
Thank you so very much for your contributions on these stories. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we will continue with the rest of the stories. Please stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. And now to the rest of our stories. Nigerian Railway Corporation has restored train services on the Abuja-Kaduna rail line following the disruption recorded on Monday. Managing Director of the NRC, Kayode Opeifa, disclosed this on Wednesday, 2 days after an accident left 26 passengers injured. Opeifa stated that normal operations resumed swiftly after the incident on March 16, 2026, assuring passengers of improved safety and operational measures for secure and comfortable journeys. The corporation confirmed that train services have returned to normal, including the successful resumption of the AKTS return trip from Rigasa in Kaduna State. The incident occurred around 9:16 a.m. near Asham Station along the Abuja-Kaduna corridor. It involved train KA2, which had departed Rigasa and stopped at Jere before continuing its journey. According to the NRC, the accident happened after a rear locomotive attached at Jere became detached while the train was in motion, rolled forward and collided with the rear of the train. The corporation clarified that the incident was not a collision between two separate trains, as widely reported, but involved a detached locomotive striking the power car and last passenger coach. Opeifa emphasized that the swift intervention of NRC personnel minimized disruption and reaffirmed the corporation's commitment to passenger safety and reliable service delivery. So after this train incident, what has been done to make sure passengers are safer now, or what can be done? Because I mean, you're obviously not there, so I'd love to ask, what do you think should be done to ensure that these same incidents or accidents rather, does not reoccur?
Okay, I think for cases like this, right? I feel like the government is not adequately paying attention to the railway sector. I think what they're only focused on is even aviation, right? The government is not even putting so much effort into the aviation sector as well as the road transport. But what can be done differently on this railway sector is constant and routine maintenance on these tracks. Do you understand? Because from the story, we gathered that there was a slight shift on the track while the train was in motion and all of that. So the government, the railway sector, in fact, I feel for Nigerians, that use the railway sector because from the look of things, the government has not placed priority in the railway sector when it comes to transportation. So, in as much as Nigerians, are trying to cut costs by using the railway sector, the government should also focus on, ensuring that you put out railway as a means of transportation. So why not invest in and ensure that this sector is, smooth, it's affordable, it's accident-free, and all of that. Now, imagine if we had more casualties as a result of, this accident. Do you understand? It would have been disastrous. Do you understand? So I feel like routine maintenance should be carried out weekly if possible. Do you understand? Because tracks, railway tracks maintenance is not something that will be done every day, but I think weekly should be enough, to forestall some of these, future accidents that we might have. Do you understand? The same thing goes to aviation and all sectors of transportation as well. So routine maintenance should be done, to ensure that these things will not happen again.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution on that story. The last story that we have today says Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has invited 94 candidates and some tertiary institutions to appear before separate virtual panels over alleged malpractices during examination registration and fake certificates. A statement issued via its X handle on Tuesday, the board said the affected candidates include those accused of soliciting or paying for illicit assistance during the 2026 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination Registration exercise as well as 2025 direct entry applicants whose institutions have flagged their certificates as fake. JAMB also said the candidates are to appear before a virtual investigation panel scheduled for Wednesday, March 18, 2026 at 10 a.m., while details of the access passcode for the virtual session had been sent to the affected candidates through their registered phone numbers. The board warned that failure to attend the session would be treated as an admission of guilt, while heads of institutions whose certificates were returned as fake, as well as those earlier invited, are to participate in a separate virtual meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March 17, 2026 at 10 a.m. Mr. Denwe Daniel, why is JAM investigating why do you think JAM is investigating so many candidates in schools, at this time?
Well, I feel all of this is as a result of the negligence of the institution, right? Because I think there's a certain part of the story that states that some of the results were falsified. Am I correct?
Yes.
So my question now is, these students, right? Were they not given admission? So that's the first question we should ask ourselves. Were they given admission? Along the line, what happened? These are some of the questions that we have to ask, before arriving at the conclusion to say, okay, this is the decision that, the JAMB is supposed to take and all of that. But I feel like there's a negligence on both institutions, the JAMB and, the tertiary institution, basically, because, if these students were not given admission, let's say, for example, these students were not given admission in the first place. So how then we're not given admission by JAM? Because the way it works, right? JAM will give you admission first. Do you understand? You have to sit for the UTME exam, and then once you have your score, then JAM will not give you an admission letter. So it is that these letters were falsified by these students. So it is not the duty of these higher institutions to verify from the Joint Admissions Matriculation Board that, okay, it is giving us an update on these candidates. So I feel like there's no synergy between higher institutions and the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, because if there's a synergy, you understand, these confirmations would have been done from the onset, and this will not be at this point where we are right now by summoning 94 candidates over malpractices or whatever it's being tagged as. Do you understand? So there's a negligence on both parts, the JAM and the higher institution. So that's my take on the story.
Okay, so my last question would be, what is being done or what can be done to stop examination malpractice and fake certificates, in the future?
Okay, so basically when it comes to malpractices, right? So like I said, if the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, works hand in hand with the higher institutions, for example, the Joint Admission Matriculation Board provide a portal where these higher institutions can verify the authenticity of this JAM scores by candidates, or if actually those candidates actually sat for the joint admissions for the UTME exams rather. Do you understand? So there should be a platform or a middle office for confirming things. Do you understand? And when it comes to falsification of of results, well, there's little or much that we can do about it, because these results, this university is, for example, I graduate from the University of Port Harcourt, for an example, and then someone who has seen the format of these results can actually go online and then design these results and then start using it. So there's little or more that the government can actually do, but in terms of that's what the government can do, basically ensure that there's a sanction for people who are caught falsifying their results. Do you understand? So the sanction should be a deterrent for for things like this. So once the government imposes a sanction, that way some of these cases where we have falsified results will reduce. Do you understand? So that's my take on the story, basically.
All right, thank you so much for your contributions on the stories that we have today. We're so glad to have you as always. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Denwe Daniel. All right, this is where we wrap it up on this edition of Government and Public Service Reports on Atlantic Television Network in the city of Port Harcourt. We are open for advert placements, news and events coverage, personality, society and political product service promotion and commercials. Watch us live on www.atlanticnetwork.tv, Evo TV channel 205, Limex TV platform, FSTech platform, Apple TV, Niger TV, Iroko TV. Connect with us on 18 socials. Subscribe, like and share. Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. On Twitter, now X, at Atlantic TV Net. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching. I am Francis Neka.